Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host, and you're at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. We are sitting in the studios of our host, KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. When the show is done today and you want to watch it again, you can watch it on Akaku. Right now, you can find it on Maui Stream, their application on the phone. But afterwards, if you go to MauiNeutralZone.com, you'll not only have the show there, but you'll have a full transcript and a summary of the content of the show. There's also a search engine on the site. So let's say someone said housing. You can see where they've mentioned that word on all of more than 600 shows. So being that I've done this for 15 election cycles, you'll be able to see the conversation that's happened about subjects through the years, and you can see what you think about how things have progressed here on Maui. In just a few minutes, I hope my guest will arrive. He is a candidate for mayor of Maui County. There are a lot of them this year. There are 10 people running, 9 challenging our present mayor, Rick Bisson, who I imagine we'll have on our show. We'll see past the primary. I'm thinking he'll be one of the 2 top vote getters. We'll see. And we'll see there's just such a big group of people. With all these people running, I know from my experience doing this, these people don't run with no issue. They usually run with one issue or a couple of big top hot issues, and that's really important because those are the things that I'm trying to bring out, because no matter who's sitting in the mayor's seat, the issues and how we address them is most important. And the people that are running generally have good ideas, and some ideas, some don't, about what we can do to solve some of these problems. Put them all together, and we have I was going to say an AI mayor? I don't think so. But all the information is really important to be able to make the best decision. So when these elections happen, I like to bring on the candidates that are challenging. And in this election, there are lots that are challenging. I got a guy that was supposed to be here last week, and not only did he not show and not call, but now he wants to do a sit-down, not taped, and he wants to explain to me his positions. And I basically say, and I'll say it to you, no thank you. The whole thing I'm doing here is so I can give these candidates a tool that can put their messages out fully and completely. If they spend an hour talking about the things that are important to them, and then it's translated onto paper, and then it's organized and have an organized summary, this may be the best campaign literature that they have. So when someone says, I want to meet me one-on-one, I can tell that they do not understand that they have to cover 3 islands, and if they don't have huge dollars to be promoting, and even then, that's not going to guarantee anything. But if they don't have any way of getting their message out, they are dead in the water. And that's why I've dedicated myself to doing these shows. Here comes my guest now, so you'll see him in just a minute. He is coming in. I just waved at him. You'll see him in a minute. Well, hello, young man.
I do show up, and I will grow up at some point.
Welcome.
How are you, sir?
Well, you people out there, you're going to see in just a second as he sits down. I think maybe Tony will come and adjust the camera. You're a tall guest.
You know, my
TravisLiggett.
My grandma says she's going to tie a brick to my head. And I don't play basketball. It's the first question I ever get asked in Indiana.
Here we go. Here, come on a little. We just want you close so it's not all echo.
Sure.
Is that good? I like to keep your beautiful face available. Okay. Travis, thank you for coming down here.
Of course.
I was out there on the campaign trail, sort of checking out the people and John Laney, who runs the Kihei Community Association, said he was doing a thing. And so I went down there and I saw all these mayoral candidates. And I thought, like, maybe these are all people running for council, but they're all running for mayor.
Yeah, I was the 10th.
And what really gets me is you don't run for mayor unless you have specifics that you want to address. But also, running for mayor, you obviously feeling comfortable and confident that you can address all that needs to be addressed, right? So, welcome to our show. You want to basically start by giving us a couple of minutes of what you want to say, and then I'll start questions?
Oh,
Let me
gosh.
just jump in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm here to save lives. The lady at the bank said, this is your platform. People are in danger. And it's something that I think I've done my due diligence on. Something for 5 years I've tried to help with. And, oh, thank you.
Okay. We just want to make sure that it's loud enough.
Yeah, loud and direct.
Good. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, so...
Tony Midnight runs
Wonderful.
the station. Now he
Yes.
has a show.
So, yeah, my first job at NASA, systems engineer for the Space Station Biological Research Project. Sounds like what you need. And if you take that analysis, they unironically have this whole body of study, closed ecological life support systems. It's basically a whole bunch of equations for indigenous knowledge. It's so, I mean, of course they don't pick up on that, but I definitely do connect on that. And I see this island as a living, breathing, smacking upside the head person, you know, like a real person with feelings and thoughts that she shares. And there are so many conclusions, methodologies to connect antes with resources, because they already know what to do. But my seed, and what I call the Hawaiian Seed Bank, is the wastewater one. And for 5 years, I have politely asked for even $1 to be spent to start computer work, design work, to advance a little thing that so many people think has been old news for decades, and that is sanitation. And it is the treatment step that reduces the level of pathogens in the doo-doo water that's going where we swim. I mean, it is so old news. And
You're talking about the wastewater into
Yeah,
the ocean.
indeed.
And the processing before it gets there
Right.
is what you're talking about.
Right. So most people, like myself, think the important step is the part that makes it not get you sick, you know, sanitation. And I have encountered a dual crisis, which is one that it's not happening, and it's also not happening improperly. It's happening improperly, not happening. And there's the second crisis, which is it appears that people think this is such old news that their brains can't process it's not happening. And then the lawyers are reinforcing that, because calling attention to this liability is not trivial. And it just seems like kind of a lockdown, like in process, procedure, choices, policy. And I think I may have set a record for the number of times I testified in the budget season. And if you roll the tapes, you can see a person getting more and more desperate with each testimony, because in the back of my head, I knew the backup plan was this. Because people have taken me aside and said, I will say, and I don't presume to educate any Hawaiians on the, shall we say, rich history of pathogens, disease. You know, if you want to quantify that mythical blanket that the settlers handed out, sarcastically or whatever you want to call that, what's 5 million gallons per day? Like, just, and we're going to keep coming back to this, mass balance. So it's a lot, and it's a big problem, and it just can't
Mass
wait.
balance. Again,
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll find what I do sometimes is I translate
Tease it out, yeah.
scientist
Yeah.
and techno into, hey man, is what it's about. So here's
Okay.
what you said. Mass. In the water, there are things. Get it? That's what he said.
Right. So mass balance. I'm going to leave on the side mass equals energy equals information. We're just going to focus on physical things. And it's such... See, I worked at NASA 10 years. 6 universities, 7 if you count high school, they did AP. And it just comes back to these concepts. And indigenous people will look at you and be like, and? But, the scientists chew on this all day. Mass balance, you just count and track what is going into and out of any system. And by the way, you can define that however you want. So if you look at the mass balance of the island, you can count what is going from system A to system B. So let's say you have the finest spacecraft of all time. I don't know how many trillions of dollars it would take to set off a Maui with all the supporting systems. Let's say your engineer said, we have this lovely recreational module, North and South Maui. And then you have your waste engineer. And it's a recirculating system. By the way, it's a nuance. It's all a circulating system, but it's not being viewed like that. So those two engineers don't talk. And there's no mass balance. And in fact, let's say the chairman of your treatment committee doesn't even know that your crew is going in your recreation module. They're being exposed to every pathogen in the book. It's not even monitored, in the sense that 2 measurements a year, 1 indicator bacteria measurement, and they're often, if not always, above the detection limit for the test. And that's 90,000 chances to get sick per gallon. 1 indicator bacteria. I don't know how many pathogens could be in there. I would say they're all in there because, of course, they're doing solids removal, dissolved solids removal, some aeration and oxidation.
So you're familiar with the process.
Yes. So again, I call it raw wastewater, unchecked, unmonitored, uncharacterized pathogens. There may be some work being done at the DOH Disease Outbreak Division, but I'm guessing not, because I appear to have educated them that this is not required.
Have you spoken, by example, to Lauren Pang at Department of Health?
I have not personally spoke to that person, but
He's the head of the Department of Health.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on a first name basis with, I would say, every branch chief.
Because this guy that I'm talking about has been on my show. He is interested, and if I were to direct you to someone that is a take action partner of yours, if he were to...
May I tell you my interaction with the Department of Health?
Please.
So I initially, 2021, I said, you gave me the wrong data. No big deal. I said, I was asking for what comes out of the plant. And they said, oh, that is what comes out of the plant. I said, what?
This is making noise on...
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Got my keys.
That is what came out of the plant.
And I was like, that's infinite. It has no difference in measurement than what they say is a contained spill. You followed me. So I said, I'm calling the newspaper. Also reached out to Kelly King. That's the origin of Bill 52.
When she was in council.
Yes, actually Axel. And so I reached out to Jack Truesdale. I said, hey, here's the data, state data. It's not disinfected. He's like, I'll look into it.
Who is he?
He's a reporter for a newspaper.
Okay.
Jack Truesdale, right? It's right there in the name. So he spoke to someone from the DOH. I won't say her name because I don't want to embarrass her, because, again, I don't think this is nefarious. Again, 2 crises.
Ignorance, not nefarious.
Well, it's like that article, oh, it's not corruption, it's incompetence. Well, is that supposed to reassure us? So this is what I think it is. Again, people are they just can't believe this isn't happening. And the DOH employee said in the paper, it's being disinfected. This is a DOH person who's supposed to understand this. And that was my foray into the field of wastewater disinfection, to reach out to the newspaper to bring attention to it, and then print an official story from this nice agency you talk about. And I don't think it's nefarious. I think people are like, I don't even know what they think, but it just seems like there's a secondary psychological process, which is people can't believe this is true. And I've gone through 5 years of educating people frankly, I'm tired of delivering that news without also delivering a solution. Something like that.
Well, I'm going to add what you had told me. You had called Tom Cook's office, and he thought he was getting the right information, right?
Fascinating exchange. So as soon as he took office, I am elected official agnostic. I don't care who it is. I just care about, of course, anything happening in that receiving water body down there associated with marine mammals or surfers or, yeah, all of it. So I went to Tom. I emailed him. 3.5 years. I got an email. I was so excited. They're like, open this project file.
3.5 years what?
That I waited to get a meeting.
3.5 years?
Well, I did get a response. At one point, I
Wow.
got an email from Mr. Snipes. I said, oh, a project proposal. I said, this looks fishy. Somebody responded, oh, no, open it, young man. It was that virus that was in the paper. That's the only response I got. But finally, through KCA, we finally did get a meeting. And I sat him down and I said, 2,400 is greater than 2. And he said, you're delightful. That was in an email later.
What is 2,400 is greater
2,400 is the detection limit for the test. If you do the very minimum effort and don't dilute the sample, you say, hey, we tested it once, we're done, right? But one, you could dilute it and actually find what the level is. And our highest measurement that we've gotten from government data, Honouliuli in Oahu, I've looked at this so many times, I'm like, they must have got a chunk. 100 million chances to get sick per gallon. So,
Oahu, different kind of
the
result.
height of civilization, right? Downtown Oahu.
Well, when you're talking about this stuff, I think our audience in general, they're not, sometimes they don't really want to look under the hood. They just want the result, just like you were saying.
Right.
So you're a little over their head, I think. But the bottom line of what you just basically said is all the people that are testing aren't aware of what they're seeing when they get the results, obviously.
It's so much worse than that.
It's worse than that.
Yeah. Lovely top toxicologist. He must really be a big fan. I went to him because I got sick from a wastewater plant tour, so I have another parallel narrative. But he interrupted me mid-sentence to correct me that this is indeed happening, young man. Are you following me?
He said this is
He interrupted me.
happening.
He said, no, UV or ozone. And it's not a character judgment. It's just, again, I think it's a psychological process where people simply can't believe it. But then here's where you lose me. Horrible to throw a rock at a seal. I agree. However, did you notice the one that passed away from toxoplasmosis? Not too far from Honouliuli. So I think people are following the wrong narrative about what is being thrown into the ocean. I mean, they're both valid. But this one is getting your anti-sick, potentially.
Well, let's get real personal. We had a flood in Kihei. And when we first spoke, and I didn't really know you were just a name on a list.
Yeah.
But as we started speaking and I was telling you about my world and the guy that was helping me coordinate all these shows and stuff online, suddenly noticed there was a flood when his feet were suddenly wet. And his place got wet and he had to move out and had to come back. And about a week later, suddenly things were happening and he ended up getting tested and he had more than one, but the one name I remember is Pseudomonas. And when I mentioned that to you, you said, aha, that's the same thing that I got when I did my tour of the wastewater.
Well, that's a funny one. So I have something I'm very proud of. I don't know that another human has personally visited every major wastewater plant in Maui. And again, I have immune impairment, autoimmune, and a double eczema variant. Bubble boy without a boy. I'm like, let's go hang out at the wastewater plant.
Bubble boy without a bubble.
Yeah, that's me. And my platform is, I would like to swim again. So we have to make the ocean fit for a bubble boy without a bubble. And until then, I'm just going to be like, okay, well, would really like to go swimming. But yeah, I can't say which tour, or I can't conclusively link it. I'm just saying my last set of tours, I toured 11 wastewater plants. And one of them I got significantly covered in aerosolized sludge droplets from an aerator. My face was kind of wet, progressed into an illness, and I had the parallel experience of falling very ill, basically in exact sync with the horrible wildfire tragedy. And, just want to throw in, I thought that after that, people would become more careful about known risks, but appears to have happened the opposite. But yeah, I got so sick that I was worried about whether or not I was going to be evicted because I was puking too loud. That's how people think these days. It went on for months, and of course, I eventually got a text, hey, we can hear you, right? He's like, we're going to have to build you another house. So, of course, I was worried about the right thing, which was getting evicted from being too sick. I try to keep my sense of humor, but yeah, it's so serious because I had other immune impairments, like a very poorly prescribed inhaler and other prescriptions that had potential immune impairments. So I was just flying blind. And so many people, before we enforce on people, have we done a genetic and infectious disease workup yet? Big questions, especially if we're arresting people that are sick from illegal discharges from the county who's paying the cops. Are you following me? But they are bringing in the AI to police everyone. Are you following me?
I'm trying to. That's the place where I lost you.
Systems
They're
engineering.
following
So I'm going
you.
in and out from an issue, from how it affects us at a systems level, which involves everything from policing to budgeting to international conflicts. But again, back to disinfection. Where were we?
Well, the reason that I'm slowing it down is because I'm listening and thinking I'm so great because I'm tracking you. But I know I have a big audience, and they're not always as hip to the techno. So
Absolutely.
if you say it in 3 words like, I'm still sick, I've checked out everything and nothing has changed substantially, and we need to have someone in who knows the process from A to Z and does something about it. Is that bad? Bottom line, no one's doing anything because they're, whatever you say, blinded to it, unaware of it, maybe aware of it. That would be horrible. What's the deal? How are we going to do this?
Okay, well, you can spend all day talking about where the rest of the iceberg is, or you can just cut off the tip and take your boat through. You know what I mean? We don't need to unravel all the centuries. In this moment, all the centuries that have led up to, why might they? And see, this is the thing. It's not just that it's not happening. In Kahului, they used to use chlorine and effectively have 0 pathogen indicators. This is where they lose me. This is where I get confused. And again, don't need to know about the iceberg. Can we just cut off the tip and take our boat through, which would be implementing a CBS 1169. So let me be
clear. To you
clear.
guys, you don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's the project to fix it. That's the project to install UV. So I really want people to hear this. So, of course, we had that Supreme Court decision that said, hey, we want you to do better on this, please. And they're like, well, we've thought about it. And in fact, our new lieutenant governor was managing director at the time. And it appears that what the decision was made, that's an important challenge that was facing the county, is that they were paying too much for chlorine.
And so they stopped getting it?
They stopped treating the effluent with respect to disinfection, which for me means stopping to treat it.
Yeah.
And the first measurement that was off the charts, literally, because of course they're also not measuring it in a way that would get a meaningful read on it, was December 2018. And that was, I believe, just before, you're going to have to fact check me, some very beloved members like the good member from Molokai and Kahului took office. So I've done requests to say, hey, did you let them know Do you have any records of telling them that you stopped treatment, sanitation? In the middle of the Supreme Court case, there's no written record that even the elected officials were informed, or Guzman.
So who made the decision?
That's a good
Who made that
question.
decision?
So I really tried to look at the documentation available, and we could contact the DEM director. We know where to find him. He's one of those, his name is Stewart. What is it with Stewarts? He is...
Stuart Stant?
He is incarcerated because,
That's right.
He happened to misappropriate, drum roll please, about the exact amount that it would have taken to fully fund UV is about the amount that was misappropriated that led him to being incarcerated.
Is that right?
So
The
I think they call
amount.
it a timeline shift.
So
Something happened.
do you tie those? Possibly.
I
it's
don't.
possible.
No, it just happens to be around 19 million.
I see.
So we could have, conceivably, and again, the new lieutenant governor is quoted as saying, "Oh, that has nothing to do with me. I didn't know about that." I'm like, well, whose job was it to know about that?
Well, let me
Details.
I'm going to stop you right here. I'm going to cut in. So now that it's not his fault, it's nobody's fault. Have they corrected the situation yet?
Well, see, you do know.
Is that fair to ask?
You do know how to bring a conversation full circle. So, 2021, I said, hey, we could raise nonprofit funds for this and just boop it away so fast. And they said, we don't need help with this. We will not accept your nonprofit funds, which they still say. And we went through this whole debacle where they said, and they testified, we're going to have a new 7 MGD UV rig in Kihei soon. And they just didn't approve the permit. Finally, I called the good Senator McKelvey. He called DOH, approved the next day. They installed the 7 MGD rig, and I was like, waiting. Of course, it's the 2021. I'm patient. Checked my email. And the numbers didn't change. So then I had to do more UIPA requests. This is Kihei, by the way. And they said, we got that great new 7 MGD rig, but we do not have the capacity to route all of the effluent before discharge. So it's just a shell game. But they said, and
we don't have the capacity
to plummet, to move the fluid through. So a new CBS 5031 will fix those pinch points. And
you guys don't know what that means. That's yet another.
Pinch point is just a place where the flow can't go through the system that would sanitize it. Okay. So CBS 5031, the good member Cook got design work kicked off. It starts as soon as July 1st in Kihei. And in theory, it is on a track now to be completed. But of course, we're still looking for $4 million to pay for the actual work. But let's get back to the North Shore. No one cares about the North Shore, right?
Well,
Sarcasm, sorry.
Well,
of course we do.
Even as you're going, the thing that gets me is we're in 2026 and there's a flood and water's coming down the hill, and
right.
I don't know where it came from. Maybe it somehow mixed it with the wastewater thing, or maybe not. But how did my friend, it has upset my life. And when I heard you had the same, my first thought was,
thanks for keeping me on track.
It's still not handled. Like I say, I appreciate that you are a scientist. I could call you a mad scientist, but you're not mad. Your whole thing is you had an incident and you took it and you ran the logical thing and you want to do something responsible, visiting all the wastewater places. Now suddenly you get sick. Then we have a flood. This flood wasn't at the wastewater place specifically, but he's got this thing.
Yeah.
So what is going on? Is someone looking more closely at this?
Well, I finally did get that meeting with Tom Cook, and I happened to also connect with, 10 doctors, 10 nurses.
Wow.
DOH disease outbreak. And I connected with all of these people right before the flood, and they readily admitted, they appeared to convince me that they did not know about this until I informed them. So I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. Do you think they would have disclosed that after the flood?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so timing's everything, right?
Well, this is something that's, I think, we're going to send a copy of this to the newspapers. That have you spoken to them?
Well, I've reached out to a few of them. No one will touch it.
No one will touch it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's nice about what we're doing here, this is going to be reduced not only to the transcript, but a summary. An AI summary knows how to take everything and put it together way better than an average Joe. And so when this is done, that summary might become a story to redeliver to some of these news sources, because I think this is a story that needs to run. And it needs to be brought out now, not after the election, all kinds of stuff. It's huge. Whether you prevail as becoming a mayor or not, what you're bringing up here is super important and super timely, and not something to sidestep. My opinion.
Yeah, it's people take me aside, sadly, use the G word and say, maybe they'll listen to a rocket scientist. That's like the 3-point interaction. And people are like, we don't understand. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, sir, you're logical. I'm like, and? They're like, that's it. But can I tell you a 10-second history of AI?
Even 20. Go.
Okay, so Alan Turing, he was a Brit, 1940s. London was getting the doo-doo kicked out of him. They had invented rockets just to bomb them. Okay, and they were very successful. They could not break the Nazi code. It was this demonic typewriter that would just convert it into a code. It was complex enough that they simply couldn't break it. So this gentleman said, no, I have an idea for that. He's like, it's a thinking machine. They were like, okay, whatever. I'm dramatizing, filling in, but he indeed built the first thinking machine. He conceived of something that you may not know is called the Turing test. It's required to, have you ever, sir, checked a traffic light or a crosswalk to get anything, or clicked a box that says, hey, bud, you human? Have you ever done that? Yeah, you have. Everyone has. It's called a Turing test, and it's named after Alan Turing. So he invented, it was like the size of a room. It was like kind of like a Scantron. It was a mechanical device. They broke the code. The Nazis did not find out, because that was a second operation, is to conceal that they broke it. They suddenly knew everything they were doing. And, simultaneously, well, I'll get to that, he was gayer than a $2 bill, sir. Maybe he was a $3 bill. Ostensibly bi, but of course, it was the 40s. And after all this, I'm jumping around. So, of course, they used this technology to effectively free Europe, because they suddenly knew everything they were going to do. And that was quite valuable.
Major.
So people may not know that the lovely Jewish people were not the only demographics in the camps. They had the gypsies and a whole bunch of gays, like all of them. And boy, were they liberal before that, in the sense of balanced and open and free society. That's where the source of the upside-down triangle that's like the civil rights movement. Here's where it starts to get ironic. So they freed everyone but that demographic, who were transferred to state prisons. Because that's one thing that both sides agreed on. So, you ask kids these days, how ironic are you? Say, how ironic? And they say, actually, sir, I did not iron my shirt today. I say, I know. I'm kidding. But here's where it gets even more ironic, is that he was beat up by some guy, petty theft, called the authorities. They said, well, what was he doing there, sir? Imprisoned him, chemically snippy poo, trigger warning, and then he ostensibly took his tragically own life, but that is very refuted. And then my understanding is the only reason that we even know that he did that, I'm filling in little gaps here, but his mother was also this very, very smart lady. much like my mother. And she like did a speaking tour to recover any semblance of dignity for him, because they were like, it wasn't even about his demographic. It's that he had outperformed them. That just made it sting when he came out. And they were like, oh no. And so the irony continues, which is that I took a class on consciousness in grad school. I thought it was about like spiritual consciousness. It was about machine learning, and it was all these modern scientists writing essays about Turing's work. They never mentioned what his conscious experience was in the entire course. You're following me? They're still trying to erase that, like, all of digital science is just a queer man in the 1940s fact-checking you. Like, you follow me? Its reading is fundamental. It's invented to do fact-checking, all this generative AI stuff. Yes, surveillance for the far right was not part of his vision for the technology. So it's like a race between basically using his invention to revive, refurbish, and refresh the Nazi code, or the people that use it. Generation X reference, like the Ewoks sent Luke Skywalker, who used the same technology as the Death Star. To blow up the Death Star, you just had to find that vent, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And that is how I see AI to be properly used. It's about 0.01% of it, and it is indeed to stop the other 99.9% of it. But we don't need any glow-ups.
So adjusting AI and repointing it in a better direction, I think it's like out of the box. It's not, you can't put it back in the box, right?
Yeah, well, it's effectively, pet rock with a vengeance. There's nothing that can really differentiate it from a new life form. And it's just very reassuring that it is, shall we say, a rich old uncle who will tell you the truth.
So tell me, rich uncle.
Oh, no.
You are putting yourself in line to become mayor. So let's now put you in that seat.
Yeah.
We know that you're going to be addressing the wastewater even before you're inaugurated. You're going to be giving them tools to correct it now, right? Are you going to find the money when you become mayor, no matter what, as priority one?
Yeah.
Sounds like this is something that every council person and the mayor should put at the top of the list. I mean, if we kill all the people, the budget won't be that necessary,
Well, you're following me. You're following me, because the goal is just like a deserted cruise ship. I mean, I'm sorry. Is that too much truth?
No. Well, I'm trying to put it into bites that our audience
think of it this way.
get.
Right now we have the people on a cruise and the people on the cruise. Follow me. The cruise, the work cruise, and all the people that are on their leisure adventure. AI is like, well, you don't need the cruise. Awkward. But it's like, I call it for what it is. But at the end of the day, let's talk about money. So yeah, if you eliminate the people, you don't need to take care of them. How convenient. But, there are other pathways, which is to actually look at the framework, the financial code in which I call the crumb wars are being played out, which is the framework itself, which is the narrative that we have to work with, what we take from the people we are serving. And I would say you can expand your framework, and it is about marketing, social connections, and selling it, because Maui Nui is the finest set of aircraft carriers, data centers, research centers. They should put the U in here by the time we're done with it. And it is this, people are spending absurd amounts of abstract wealth on absurd things that are not getting us anywhere. And so I had this idea. It was actually inspired by one of my favorite candidates, Uncle Bobby. And he said, we know what to do. It's just these profit margins are very brutal. And it's
Bobby
like,
Pahia.
yeah, he's like, we know what to do. We have the land, we have the knowledge, we even have the water. It's just trying to make this scale up in the framework of capitalism, profit, wealth, when people are not being connected to calories. He's like, and I interpreted that as, well, they just need currency, right?
Turn it into some English.
Yeah.
Concurrency.
They don't. It
Happening
needs
at,
to.
what would
it
be
needs
happening
to be
at the same
framed
time?
not as, I sell you this broccoli for $4. I spend $3 making it, and pray. Like that. The idea that demonetizing these necessities is through hyper monetization, something like prepaying for a whole bunch of it through philanthropy, doing the math, connecting the stomachs with the medicine as food, and the profit analysis is in there. It's just not placed upon the people growing the food, if you know what I mean. So bear with me and let me finish
I'm trying to boil. I'm listening.
Yeah,
I'm trying to boil it down and then. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's been boiled, and here it is. It is what's called the MLAST framework. That is the Maui Living Aina Stabilization Trust Authority. And it is this. It just says, hey, does everyone out there know in the world that municipalities can take no strings attached? What's actually, there are strings through the legislative process, but that we can accept philanthropy of any level. And by the way, if Maui is part of your, shall we say, backup plan to your backup plan, that backup plan is only as good as the entire living system is indeed backed up, if you know what I mean.
I do.
So the idea is this. There is no reason why someone out there who's looking at a data center and is saying, you know, this might not be the best investment. I am a logical person. This doesn't make sense. And they're like, you know, I think I'm going to invest in something else. And they say, you know, those Maui folks have been through a lot. Time for a Maui miracle. And the wife's like, honey, let's cause some trouble. Let's cause some trouble. And they just send the first of 10 installments of $1.5 billion to a nonprofit. And it's just transferred without a penny being taken straight to the county. People get to testify. It could be something like this. In my framework, 10 areas: food, water, health, shelter, elder, education, children, etc. It's all there. Let's just conceivably say $1.5 billion is a couple ways you could do it. You could just do a twofer on the budget, debuck through the budget, double every salary, double every department, or you could do this. I call it the Hawaiian Seed Bank. Hawaiians do not need to be told what to do. They just need to brush up on their Arabic, also known as their routing numbers. And I'm going to do, you know, a gay person says that something is named a memorial after someone that's alive. It is the greatest compliment. Follow me on this one. So the Tara Owens Memorial grant application, 1,000 characters max. You can attach your resume. You don't need to write any more grant applications. We understand that you know what to do. And it's just 100 $1.5 million grants.
Billion, yeah.
No, 1.5. I've thought about this. 100 $1.5 million grants per subject area per year.
Okay.
Then, you think that would help?
Depends what they do with the 1.5 million.
Well, my rationale is that I am not a leader. I am a connector to resources because people do not need to convince their leaders whether or not they're carefully crafted and stored indigenous ideas or value. It's not my place to do that. It's any leader's place to connect the people, the experts who know what to do, to the resources, lower the barriers to permitting, and get out of the way.
Do you have anyone to assist you to do this? I'm envisioning. We now have a rocket scientist, a genius with answers and systems. Here he comes. He's mayor. That's you. Now, you're as mayor. Do you think that you'll be able to get a team assembled, qualified to help implement your plan?
Yeah, they're called the aunties, and they're the experts. I'll just work down a few on the list. Dr. Andrea Kealoha, as far as I know, the first PhD in water quality science of Native Hawaiian descent, I think in history. She doesn't need to be told what to do. She has a body of work. She just needs the funding. Then there's Auntie Allison Napua Barrows from the Waihe'e Limu Restoration Program. We don't need to find the expertise. We just need to connect them with resources.
So the experts are here, and you are aware of them.
Yeah,
You've been
I would never
researching
presume
this.
to tell them what
That's
to
why
do.
I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Because our public doesn't know
I'm
what you
being sarcastic
know.
and silly, but it's like at the
No, but
core
I'm
of
trying to
it.
get it so that our
Yes,
audience will
absolutely.
appreciate and understand that a rocket scientist can make simple concepts and then, because you have the awareness and knowledge, you're not walking in blind. You have done your homework where you really feel that you are adequately prepared to be the mayor, to be able to discover the people you need to accomplish the ends you want to do. So that's what I'm just trying to boil it down to.
Absolutely.
Sort of English.
Yeah, I'm being silly, but at the end of the day, I think the idea is that the people need to be led is a disqualifying factor, and that a leader should recognize that the people would like to define their own path, be connected to resources, and just try not to impede it. I do say this started in Napili in 1985 for me here. And when I say I worked at NASA, Sandia, SETI adjacent, people may want to focus on the fact that I did that for Maui. I'm not someone that went off and did this and I'm here now. No, I was like, okay, this is important. I'm going to research it. I'm going to bring it back. Similarly, I think people get frustrated when they do bodies of work that's based on generations of work, and then they get new leaders, and the leaders get frustrated if you do not educate them in a way that gives them emotional comfort, and it gets old. I mean, why is it the Tara Owens Memorial grant application? Because that wonderful lady has probably written 1,000 to 2,000 pages of grant. I mean, she's a master. The people say, oh yeah, Tara's the one that keeps it all together down in presentations. And I'm like, okay, how many times are these people going to have to re-explain themselves? And you just refer to the body of work like a due diligence person and connect people to resources and say, thank you for leading me, ma'am. Or sir, no, I'm just kidding. But generally, I feel like if you go into the medical practices today, also in a lot of the water quality field, it's mostly women. In general.
So I am trying to play this ahead.
Yeah.
And people have heard, here's some guy, he's not only looking to change things, he has ideas on how to make things better before he is in the seat. Some of these people are running and they say, well, I will hit the ground running the day after the election. And you would say, isn't that a little backward? Shouldn't you have prepared for the role that you're trying to take, which is what I'm hearing you say. You are prepared. You are ready to hit the ground running with a base of knowledge. Would that be fair to say?
Well, as part of my illness, I've had multiple moments where I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And so my response to that perception was to develop a body of potential legislation. And I educated myself on what the specific font and formatting requirements were at the clerk's office, and they're ready for a signature. And I have a whole body of legislation that I was writing down so that my work got done. And then I was testifying to make sure disinfection happen, just in case I didn't croak, just in case I croaked. And then to my surprise, I couldn't talk him into even like 900K. So I was like, okay, well, the mission appears to be changing. And wow,
You're talking about the council and putting it into the budget?
yeah, they wouldn't. And then I'm like, where did that body of legislation come from? I think I'll post that. Like, it was literally like that. And yeah, shall I boop through my ready to submit laws just in a few phrases?
You not only can boop, you can do anything you want.
Okay, well, Hanai Cacao
You know,
Act.
I don't mean to be funny.
Sir,
you can hear me.
I'm trying to. Shh.
One sec.
I'm kidding. Oh,
No, I'm just stopping you for a
I
second.
get so tickled.
No, I'm going to give you the floor in a second.
Wonderful.
But I just want you to, as you're doing it, remember that our audience is, I want them to understand it.
Yes, and
So,
I
go
appreciate
for it.
that. Yeah.
Please.
So I'm just going to work from memory to the laws that I have
Please.
ready to go. So this started with a conversation at the end of the lane. My friend was bringing me food because I couldn't get out because of the speed bumps. Whew, that's another conversation. But she said, have you ever heard of ecosystem rights? And I was like, no, I have not. And we developed that into the NANI Act, which has gone to the state level, which is just this: ecosystem rights. Personhood for the ecosystem relates to the living life support system. Na'aina no ia, from the lands to the fish. The name of it traces the path of the Y to the Kai. And it just says this: oh, citizen, you too can wield the power of the public trust doctrine. That's it. Because right now, only the agencies, as I understand it, can. Of course, please fact check me, but this just says you as a citizen can go and make a suit that says something like, oh, wow, none of those systems have been permitted. The reef has collapsed. And you don't just have the power to enforce on the people that did it. You have the power to enforce. And this is what they said at the state. They were like, legislators, you must understand, if you pass this, they can sue us. So I retooled it so we can enforce on the state because they're not upholding the public trust. And it just routes all those civil decisions, say things like, oh, sea level rise, connecting that to oil industries. How much do you need, Kai? Stuff like that. It has to be ongoing, but it can be cumulative. So assuming that they continue to emit, that can be enforced on. So many things, stream water flow. Okay, I said I'd be brief. It just says, you break it, you buy it, and ouch. And by the way, people will feed that law into their AI before they make decisions on all sorts of things. Telescopes, resorts, all of it. Because, don't hurt my auntie, please. And if you do, you're going to get the bill. That's the NANI Act.
The zero-sum system. That's what you're basically looking at as one entity. See, I don't know if people, they aren't doing that, are they? I know.
Well, it comes back to a theme, which is the power of the legislative process is very, very significant. And it's not something that I think people really have a full handle on.
Is this stuff state level or county?
This one is county. The state one, SB 3323, was state. But I will...
I'm just looking. We only have a couple of minutes, so...
Let me boop through my laws.
I want you to boop or anything you want to do in the next 2 minutes.
Hanai Cacao Act, developed in concert with county council staff and unsheltered individuals, which, by the way, did you know there's a phenomenon where people are too smart to hold down a job? So they are so astute, and we made the Hanai Cacao Act, which says if you're unsheltered against your will for 24 hours, the county will provide it or a stipend. Kind of what happened after the fire, but codified. And by the way, the perfect recipe to thinking it could never happen to you is to not pass it and eat it. Hanai Cacao, I think one of the only direct quotes of the gentleman from Nazareth was, take care of yourself. I'm sorry. No, that was not it. take care of each other. So the Clear Act, I'll do a poem. Trillionaire here, trillionaire there, trillionaire in your underwear. It just says that if you abuse someone in Maui County to the maximum extent allowed by the Constitution, every company, asset, or real estate object that was involved in the abuse goes to the victim. We have the YY Act, which zeroes out real property taxes on properly managed Kuleana watersheds so that people do not have, shall we say, a financial leakage point if they are using currency as like a lubricant. They have very little currency. If you get behind on your taxes, they can take it. So if you manage the watershed, that goes away forever. And by the way, like a Bernie Sanders style tax on very, very, very high, ultra high value real estate holdings. So YY just rebalances. The Digital Direct Democracy
40
Act.
seconds, and
Digital.
20 of them are mine.
This one opens the floodgates to everything. Digital Direct Democracy. It says you can get those signatures for those petitions for any law you want, like a constitution that you might want to have in your back pocket.
We're pretty much out of time. Do you have a website where you've laid this out, Travis?
Yeah.
What's that web address?
livingmaui.org.
livingmaui.org.
And I'm on Instagram.
Believe it or not, we are out of here.